push this around. We have a notice of public hearing. Robin?
7:32. Okay. President Kelly.
Present.
Trustee Allen.
Here.
Trustee Simpson.
Here.
Trustee Sass. Trustee Hinton absent. Also present Attorney Megan Land, Chief Evans, and Deputy Chief Herman.
Purpose of the meeting is to discuss the 2022-2023 tax levy ordinance numbered 2022-344.
There have been no comments and no public questions
Right.
about it, so it's available for 60 days.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Do we need a motion on that?
Not here,
Not
not on
here,
the
okay.
regular
Oh,
meeting.
the regular meeting, that's right, I'm sorry. Let's see, for this. I need an adjournment, please. Motion to adjourn. Second. Okay, so anyone opposed? So moved. All right. Meeting called to order for the board meeting of the regular fire protection district at.
Everybody agree?
Did we technically adjourn the public hearing?
Did.
We did.
Okay, sorry, I missed that part. Thank
Sorry,
you.
you're available in public comment.
Yeah.
Meeting's called to order. Let's stand for the pledge, please.
Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Kelly.
Present.
Trustee Allen.
Here.
Trustee Simpson.
Here.
Absent. Trustee Sass and Trustee Hannon, also present Attorney Megan Land, Chief Evans, and Deputy Chief Herman.
I need approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of 11/15/22, please. Move to approve. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Time for public comment. I don't see any public out there. We will revisit it again. Reports. Treasurer's report was part of our packet. So we've all seen that. And we'll let James do his stuff, and then I'll report to the chief.
Well,
James?
John Faldudo was also part of all that, but he asked to be pushed to the end because he's going to be running late.
I'm sorry, I knew that. I didn't share it with anyone. Thank you, Rob. Okay. James?
Okay, everybody, if I can be allowed to share my screen, we can walk through the 7 months ended November 30th. There we go. Okay. Let me just blow this up 1 second. All right. So let's kind of take a walk through. We'll start with some revenue highlights. Again, we're 58% of the way through our fiscal year. We've already collected 105% of our total revenue budget, exclusive of any internal transfers. 2.7 million from the county. Again, we're at 99% on both major installments for the year. Ambulance fees, 856,000 collected there, so we're 22% better than budget. Replacement taxes, remember that's the business tax that comes in from the state every other month. At 32,000 collected, that's already double what we had budgeted, and I'm seeing this across all of my fire districts and local governments, that the collections have just been much greater this year than in previous years. Our $450,000 from Central DuPage Hospital has also been collected to put that budget at 100%. So again, as we look at the revenues this year versus budget versus last year, you can see taxes in at 99% up 1. Ambulance fees here, 122% of the budget, up 88%. So again, that's strong collections. GMT working for us. So again, that looks very good. Under grants and donations, that's the DuPage Hospital, 450,000. And then again, down below our transfer in, that's included in this revenue number. 4.3 million, we budgeted 4.1, so we've already beaten our revenue estimate for the year, and we're up about 13% at this point over last year. Look at the distribution. Taxes make up about 63%. The ambulance fees about 20%. Replacement tax 0.8. Grants about 10%. Investment income 0.1. Miscellaneous 1. And then that internal transfer about 5%. For the month of November, we collected about 116,000. You can see those green shoots well above what we did last year in terms of ambulance fees. We are averaging about 122,000 a month. Again, our budgeted average was about 58,000, and last year's 12-month average was 73. So again, outperforming the budget as well as last year. Now, as we flip into some expenditures, again, 58% of the way through, we're at 51% of our total budget expense exclusive of the transfer. Operationally at 52%, so 6% better than where we are in the year. Comp and benefits, again, this is our biggest line or expenditure category. We're at 54%, about 1.3 million in salaries. That's at 57%, so right there with where we are in the fiscal year. Buildings and facilities, 44, equipment and vehicle maintenance, 31, training and education, 24, all of those below where we are in terms of that 58% mark. So again, as we kind of look at our operating line accounts here, again, comp and benefits is really the biggest, and at 54%, up only 2% over last year. That looks to be trending a little bit better than budget to date. Other than that, you don't see a lot of categories. The pension fund, obviously, that's reflected in the taxes as they come in, they get moved over to the pension fund, as well as the audit is done for the year at 89%. So all the other categories trending almost better than budget at this point. And then again, all in, 2.3 million spent for ops, 4.4 million was budgeted. We're at 52%, and we're down 4% from what we spent last year. A little bit of capital outlay at about 58,000, and then the other side of that transfer out for future fleet and facility needs. So as we look at the distribution, again, comp and benefits is going to make up 68%, the pension fund 15, legal and professional about 4, admin 3, buildings and facilities 2, firefighter, medical equipment, maintenance and ops about 5%, and then foreign fire is about 2% at this point. And again, that money comes in from the IML. So after 7 months, a nice surplus position, 1.7 million. Now we've got 5 months of mainly expenditures to go. We started with about 4.1 million in fund balance. We're at about 5.9 million. And again, you can see a nice increase in the surplus position based on some of the increases in revenue, and namely those ambulance collections being strong. In terms of the investments, we're at about 4.5 million across all accounts. Again, we're in about 25 basis points on the money market. That's why John's involved. We want to kind of show what we can do with some of our investments. All, of course, in a fixed income portfolio, but when you look out at a short-term treasury making, over 3 and 4%, we can get a little bang for the buck with his firm's expertise. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
No, thanks.
James, your documents are always very easy to understand. Thank you.
Yeah, you really do make it just simple. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All right, I need a motion.
Motion to accept the financial report.
Second.
Support, and then anyone opposed? No, and then this is roll call.
President Gales.
Yes.
Trustee Ellen.
Yes.
Trustee Simpson.
Yes. Chief, what do you got to say?
You, Mr. President. For this month, the special operations drill for the Alliance was held at Station 28. It was a technical rescue skills review and some basic operations. There's always good training. And the multi-company was actually hosted by Glenside, one of our, they're not an Alliance member, but they're one of our closely held neighbors that we spend a lot of time with. And they've been more inclined to work with us, train with us in recent times, which serves everyone's benefit. Similarly to Hanover Park, there's a couple other departments that we're trying to get to have this more involved relationship with them, because again, that serves everyone's community. And so they were actually kind enough, in the vein of partnership, to host this past multi-company, and it was fighter survival. They have a nice training facility right next to the firehouse, and they hosted, and that's one of the, if not probably generally my favorite drill of the year, because it's a lot of really tough skills and good training, and you practice a lot of your SCBA and self-rescue techniques and stuff like that. So it was really, really powerful training. And again, thank you to Glennside for hosting that. Recent incident events of note. Again, I don't mention every call, and I generally will shy away from EMS calls for that reason, but it was unfortunately a very, very active month for us with respect to calls in general and calls of significance specifically. On November 15th, I went to Timber Trail for working structure fire in Wheaton. On November 30th, we had a motor vehicle accident rollover, I think it was rollover, on Geneva Winfield. We were assisted by Carroll Stream, Wheaton, West Chicago. On December 1st, Deputy 31, Engine and Medic 31, assisted West Chicago with a fire on Forest Avenue. On December 3rd, Deputy 31 assisted Wheaton with a fire on Schillerstrom Court. December 6th, Wheaton structure fire on Morgan Avenue, Deputy 31, Engine 31, Medic 31, and Engine 31 was the first in engine on that scene. So it goes back to what I've been talking about for years now, about the alliance and working together and us being partners. And that we have had fires where Carroll Stream has been the first on our scene. We were the first on Wheaton scene. Crew did an exceptional job, but that's why we all work together. And it's such a huge advantage for our communities in the modern era, where there used to be back in the day pre-alliance and stuff. There was what was they were called business rules with fire departments. So if a neighboring fire department, if you were reaching out to them for aid, they would only supply one apparatus or one crew, and that a lot of that stuff, those replacement policies or depletion policies rather, were dropped. Is a lot of us got involved, and that means if we have a fire, all the closest stations, not just one from this community, one from the next community, one from the next community. So it gets all those assets to a scene sooner, and everything works out better as a result. And again, in this case, Engine 31 first in, did a fantastic job getting the first engine on the scene. So compliments to them. On December 7th, had a call on fire on Route 38, Deputy 31, Engine 31, Medic 31. December 8th, a fire on Joy Road, Deputy 31, Engine 31, Medic 31. December 9th, Woodvale Court, we had an appliance fire, we were assisted by Wheaton. The 13th, a fire on Burroughs Road, assisting West Chicago, Deputy 31, Engine 31, Medic 31. Engine 31 was also the first arriving engine on that scene, deployed the initial attack hose line. So again, all that stuff paying off, and we, as we all have been through all of the reports over the years, we often receive substantially more aid than we received this month. We were paying it back a little bit. December 19th, we had a extrication accident on Route 38. We were assisted by Wheaton, West Chicago, and Warrenville. And on the 19th, we had extrication accident, Deputy 31, Engine 31, Medic 31, assisted West Chicago on with that. There were no service anniversaries to report this month. Fleet update: the new Chief 31 command vehicle has been delivered and it is in service. It's right outside if anyone wants to see it after. In fact, that was today. Medic 31, the new Medic 31 is in service and responding to calls. It's been responding to a lot of calls for over a week.
Is it working out well, sir?
It so far, everyone's quite elated with it.
Really?
New engine update. It's a delay, but not the worst of delays. Many of our neighbors have encountered worse. The expected delivery date is going to be August 23, pushback from June. And in the last few days, we just approved the graphics as I have the handout on the desk for everyone. That's essentially what it's going to look like, front and back. So what the font is going to be, and engine again matching our ambulance. We're moving into a new era, so we're changing a little bit of our graphics. It's a new Winfield, so and this is reflective of that. It's going to be a really good looking rig, I suspect. Air cascade update. Crews have been working. They've had electricians in to figure out some stuff. Seth Lamb was in the audience. Brian Burke, who I think is online, were instrumental in getting a lot of this stuff done and doing a lot of this work to get the installation to be seamless as possible. So that work has been going. There's going to be a couple of expenses coming in, not unexpected with respect to the electrical, upgrading the electrical service for it. And was there anything else to add to that?
No, just the electrical service will have to be upgraded for it, and they've looked at it, and it's all pretty much on steady.
In terms of the grant updates, the latest round, the SAFER grant, which we applied for, as I had told the board previously, there were a series of awards in September, then nobody heard anything, not a yes, not a no, nothing from the federal government. And then there was some discourse with respect to the grant period being over, then it was extended, then they added some money to it. And so the latest round of denial letters went out about a week and a half ago, and we weren't part of that denial. So we're still in it, and it's nearing the end. According to FEMA, we're supposed to get an answer, affirmative or negative, before the end of the year. No one's expecting that to actually happen. But it's the process is moving along, and I believe we are in the final. We're in the final cut, so that's good news for us. The Alliance also put in a SAFER grant for a mobile ventilation unit, and we just got the declination letter for that today, I believe. Yeah. So we'll try that again for an Alliance-wide grant for some equipment, but that one did come in.
That grant was a safer one also?
That was a SAFER grant. That was a FEMA.
A FEMA
AFG.
Thank you, AFG grant. Yes, yeah, the SAFER grant is just for personnel. I misspoke. Thank you. New firefighter paramedic testing, the final eligibility is posted, and the first candidate was contacted and accepted the conditional offers. So she is in her pre-hire phase of for testing. And I would really like to compliment the board for they expedited this process unbelievably so to get us a list to get somebody hired. So compliments to them for really pulling together to get that done. Lieutenant testing is also underway. Chief and seniority points are both posted. Ascertained merit will be posted likely tomorrow. And then the oral and assessment center are the 5th and the 12th of January respectively. And the written test is on January 31st. So that's going to be happening. We're going to be having a lieutenant's list posted sometime in February. Several of the board, a couple of the board members along with me attended a meeting hosted by the village at the Winfield Fire District with respect to community development. That was a positive experience. We had a lot of support from the community members that were present. I was quite moved by the amount of support we had. And again, community partners working together to have conversations. It's all good stuff.
You forgot to mention how it seemed to be unanimous as we were everyone broke into groups of tables. There was like 7 or 8 tables, and you're supposed to say, oh, this property should be this and this should be this. Every table said that the fire district should be out in the middle of town. Every single day was recognized like, well, this should be, the fire district needs to move and we have to do this. And it was just like everyone. So it was pretty interesting.
It was.
I don't know if it was a hand-picked audience, but it seemed like everyone wants us somewhere else. So in a positive way.
So the next thing, you notice there's a handout on the table for everyone as well. The Community Emergency Services and Support Act, more commonly known as CESA. So along with the safety law, there's the CESA law, and it's for mental, emotional, substance use persons, and it's a law to help do a better job with them. And it's becoming, certainly a large plurality, if not a majority, of our calls are of this nature. It is a thing. So this stuff has been supported by all of the local chief, police and fire organizations, by the dispatch centers. So it's got a lot of support. So what is before you is the concept of building a central receiving station, essentially what in the literature they refer to as an emergency room for mental, emotional, and substance use related matters, for an emergency room for those types of patients. And it's a good thing, and this is good stuff, and it's supported by everyone, and I support it as well. The reason I mention it is because it's early on in the process. However, there is quite a bit of conversation about it being located on the DuPage County site somewhere. We own about half of that complex. So it will likely either be in Wheaton or be in our jurisdiction, and there is a possibility that will have an impact on us with respect to calls. So I just wanted to have it on everyone's radar so that as things continue to grow, germinate, and as this plan starts to become better formulated, that the board was aware that this stuff's going on.
Is this just a proposal at the county right now, or is this something that they're actively moving forward on? Like, is this someone's sales plan to the county, or is the county?
I believe the plan is being acted on. How it's developing is a little bit in flux, but the plan is the plan and it's moving.
So you're supposing that it could be a structure that would be on the Marion Way?
No, and again, it's conjecture at this point, and I want to be clear about that. It's just people talking in conversation, but if you read the literature, it talks about being close to the county health department,
So this
county detention center, and in close proximity to a full-fledged hospital. So a lot of I've been involved in meetings and conversations where there was the possibility discussed of it being in proximity to the county health building, which is on the east side of County Farm Road, and in Wheaton jurisdiction, or in proximity or part of what was the old youth center, which is in our jurisdiction. So again, this is only for information purposes for the board to know that this is a thing, and there's really nothing to be done other than know that as it develops, there could be an impact to us that we should be aware of.
Are you involved in those county meetings and plans, or
I am not at this
have
stage.
they had local agency participation yet?
None of the groups that I'm a part of, we've had the conversations not dissimilar from the one that we're having this evening, but in terms of planning, no, I've not been involved. I don't know actually if the village has. This has only come to light in terms of these documents within the last week or so.
Yeah.
I'm still doing outreach to find out who knows what to try and get a better handle on the information straight.
Who's heading this up?
County health,
County health.
I believe so, yeah. So as will be reported later on the agenda, the old engine 31, engine 32 was removed in station 2. County SWAT had asked to put a vehicle in there briefly while they're finding a home for it, and we're going to be doing that. So until they find its permanent home, it's going to be sitting there temporarily. If you see it in the window, that's what that's about. And that's all I have to report.
Is the sheriff's or the fire investigation, the truck still housed down there?
Yes.
Yeah, so the fire arson task force, that's there, and then also that they'll have one of the armored vehicles, the Bearcat, will be in the bay where old 32 was temporarily until our engine gets here.
But there's still room for the old ambulance.
And
down
the
there, too.
Yeah,
3 days.
we have 3 ambulances now and room for 2. So one of them is parked at station 2. I actually, if I might get into it, we sent out Medic 32, the big red ambulance, to have a lot of mechanical work done to it. And then sent it to another place from there to have a lot of the upholstery done, because that's something that IDPH will fail an ambulance for. If there's rips, tears, abrasions in fabric. So we sent it out to have all the upholstery redone. We're going to be detailing it, and we're going to be outfitting it for state inspection. Once it gets state inspection, it's going to be sitting in the back here. And then we're going to do essentially the same thing with the old ambulance, the old Medic 31 with the white ambulance, doing essentially the same thing. And then once that's completed, because it's Medic 32, as I've said to the board many times, is in the better shape of the two, even though it's older, that Medic 31 will probably sit in that same ambulance bay at Station 2. And then we have the training stuff there that the troops set up. And then the county fire investigation vehicle has lived there for some time and will probably continue to. However, I put them on notice that if the need comes up, we might have to have them find a new home for it. And then again, that Bearcat's going to be living there temporarily until it finds, because we've got the space and they needed it. So it's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I know we got a lot of vehicles rotating in and out. I just want to make sure we had space.
Yeah, it's not impacting us negatively at all at the moment. So we can afford to be good
Are we
neighbors.
giving up training space that we need right now for them to store that there, or are you able to?
They can, they're all movable.
You can keep.
We just pull them out. Okay. For anything we need to do. That was one.
One question, if I may. Is there any insurance concerns if something happens in that building with these county-owned vehicles in there? Does that put us at any sort of risk?
Question. It is a good one. So previously, I was informed that that was not the case.
We're gonna check into that, Rob. Good question. Nice catch.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
What was the,
That was it again.
I was in here a couple weeks ago, the tender had a broken engine mount. Is that what it was?
Bracket.
It was a bracket. Yeah, it wasn't.
Bracket off the engine.
Okay,
And
so it was fixed.
they were able to find it.
It's repaired and back, I think.
It's repaired and back.
All right.
Yeah, that's
All square.
yeah. There's nothing
Make sure it
else.
wasn't a major.
Oh, man.
Oh yeah.
I was.
Well, he did the same thing when he had said to me that it was a broken engine mount. I'm like, what? He's like, no, a mount, something mounts to the engine. I'm like,
It's really
okay.
not that big of a deal. Yeah, it sounds like, oh my God, but it's really not that big of a deal.
Okay.
It happens to a tremendous amount of vehicles every day. Do you have anything for us?
I do not have anything for you guys.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No candy.
I might have some cough drops.
It's the season.
We want to move on to old business, or we would like to let our guest have his say. What do you want?
John, are you ready?
Go ahead, if you want to do me last, that's fine. Whatever works for you guys. Why don't we just go ahead and put it right in? All right. Because as we go down the agenda, we're gonna. Sure. Yeah. Can I help you?
Can I jump in really quick just to give the precursor to all of this?
Please go ahead, Rob.
Thank you. Board, I had asked John to come visit us today. After our last meeting, John and I spoke a bit about different ways to handle the finances for the district in order to help us perhaps gain some additional assets off of, some additional monies off of the good interest rates and really maximize what we're doing from an investment standpoint. And I'm going to give the 30,000 foot view, and then I've asked John and James as well to fill in the gaps that I'm sure to leave, because they've talked this stuff up slightly more in their lives than I have. But essentially, there is a way in which we can operate the finances of the district that invests pretty much every dollar that we have, and then we withdraw the amount that we need on a month-to-month basis to cover all of our expenses. And by doing that, because we're putting more money into the investments, we're able to reap more reward from it. And in dealing with John's organization, there's not transactional fees or things like that could bury us, so we can actually realize some of these gains. So that's the overview. And then John, I leave it to you to fill in the technical gaps that I left.
You use under new business too, so I didn't know if you wanted to do both or if you wanted to do it all under new business.
Well, if we do it under new business, we'd immediately go to approving that, correct then?
Or you could list it on the minute further. Either way, whatever you want to do, I just want
Let's
to
just,
make sure.
just,
Yeah.
because ideally, I think we had planned on doing it all together with the treasurer's report, right, Rob?
Yeah, that was the initial, was that we'd have the discussion during the treasurer's report and then be able to take action later, assuming the board is in agreement.
Well, you know, I'm stickler I am for detail. I want it to be as close as possible. Please, Greg.
John, take it away.
Thanks, Ron. Well, first of all, thank you again for having me. It's good to see everybody again. I was here this morning for the pension meeting for those who were in the room for that. So it's nice to be back in Winfield twice in one day.
Is that just one trip charge for the day? Or is that-
Yeah, luckily I don't charge you my way. My
I
staff
offered
charges me
him a
my way,
couch.
so you know, that's
I
why.
offered him a couch to sleep.
But no, from a 30,000 foot level and then maybe a 20,000 foot level, we're not going to get too far into the weeds here, but as mentioned earlier, we've been doing that a lot for fire districts in particular recently. And that is essentially looking at, is there opportunity to earn a few more dollars on the balances that you have without taking more risk and doing anything dramatically different. So we look at this as not a big investment portfolio where we're trying to hit a home run, but instead we're looking at the dollars you have and can you get more out of them from a return earn and interest perspective. So what we've generally structured is really a couple of different things. And I think I mentioned this another time when we talked, but essentially in some cases, we, as mentioned, hold most of the dollars of the fire district. You'll still have your checking account or a couple of checking accounts or however you have things structured. But in the long run, we'll have a bucket or multiple buckets in a Schwab account, which is a custodial account, where we can have a mutual fund that's a money market. So it's only a money market fund. It only holds government bonds in that money market fund. So it's extremely safe and secure. There's not principal risk, but you get the interest that's associated with those bonds. If you've been paying attention to the markets, you know the Fed has been bumping short-term interest rates. So that money market fund today is paying, I think it's 3.3, 3.4% for idle cash that's sitting now probably in a checking account paying you next to nothing or nothing, depending on where you're at. Those dollars are completely liquid. So on a monthly basis, as mentioned earlier, with good cash flow planning, we have situations where a district would say, we want to move $300,000 on the first of every month so that we have the money we need to pay our salaries and bills and things like that. We know our cash flow is about $250 a month, whatever it is. So we make sure that money's available, meaning if we're just holding money market, it's daily liquidity, we can sell that money market, move it over the next day, and it's in the bank account, if you will, for use by the district. But think about it, if you've got your tax money that has come in, and you know you're going to spend 300,000 out of that 3 million on a monthly basis, you've got 2.7 million for the first month, 2.4 million into the second month, etc., where you don't have to keep it quite as liquid. And we can go out and buy short-term treasury bills or government agency securities that are these days for 1 year treasury, you're earning over 4%, right? So if you can go out several months and increase the yield without, again, taking any risk because it's a government bond. If it, government goes belly up, we're not going to worry about the little things here. No offense, we're all going to be worried about a bunch of other things. And you can earn another 0.5% or even 1% if you ladder that out a little bit further. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? So that's what we've done. And oftentimes we'll have districts that say we want to have our operating cash, which is that very short term. We know we're going to need this money between now and the end of our fiscal year. So ladder it out so that this amount comes due every month. And we have the ability to move it over monthly and you've got everything you need. And if something pops up, let's say, mentioning rigs and engines and things like that, ambulances. But let's say, unfortunately, you have a situation where you need to go out and buy a demo ambulance because something happens and you need $250,000 tomorrow. No problem. Anything that we own is extremely liquid and can be sold because it's a government issued security or money market where we could raise that.
And because it's invested in a money market, there's no fees for taking it out.
Correct. There's no transactional fees at all. Correct. And any, as we call them, ticket charges that Schwab, who's our custodian, charges to just execute it. That's a charge. They send us a bill and we pay it. That's part of the fee that we charge you, is any of those operational costs. So you're not nickel to dime.
They will operate at about what, 1%?
Oh gosh, no.
Are they lower?
Oh yeah, no, 1%. Yeah, no, it's. I'm talking $15 to do the trade or something like that, and that's a bill that I get and I pay it. It's a big number before the decimal, but it's all of our clients built into that number. So it's not a big deal to the relationship. We charge a management fee, as we talked about last time, of 0.2% on an annual basis. And that's or in our lingo, it's 20 basis points. And essentially, it's just like the pension fund where we get paid a fee to provide this service, pay attention to it every day, and go out to the universe of these securities that are available, that are, again, at the furthest end of conservative you can get, and make sure we get the best deal for you and execute. We don't make any money from trading. We're not a brokerage firm. We don't inventory securities. So we don't buy something at 100,000 and put it in your account at 102 and make the $2,000 spread. We're not in that business at all. The only dime we collect is the fee that we charge to do this for you. And then the benefit is on a monthly basis, you get nice clean reporting from us and from Schwab that documents everything. We forward James in the district a performance report. We have Schwab statements that we email to James a day, I think it's a day or two after month end, James, probably you get those from Jackie, I lose track. But that provides the information that you need to run the district on a real-time basis, as well as online access with the Schwab account, those types of things. So kind of a nice comprehensive package, and once people sign up, they generally like it. It works real well. From our perspective, we've been doing, sorry, Robin, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna ask, is this in place of where we're at now with our checking and money market grand rates? Would that be replacing that and moving it over? Only because that affects like my direct deposit,
Yep.
things like that, so I would have.
Yes, we would fix some of that if we needed to, but for the most part, most districts will keep the checking account that they need to pay their bills out of and have all their payroll go out of and all that. None of that changes. You're just, instead of leaving a bunch of money sitting in those accounts, moved over to Schwab. And then as you need the money to pay things out of those accounts, you would funnel that more money over to the payroll account.
The county would put their money, the money we receive into the investment fund instead of.
Right,
grand
so
rates.
then as I pay bills or make payroll, do I need to notify you then that I need to transfer that amount, or do you monitor that and make automatic transfers?
Let me give you how another fund does it, another district does it. And this is one way to do it. North Main, their public record how they do it. About the first of the month, roughly, we get an email that says, we need this amount of money this month to pay our bills. This is what we anticipate. Please transfer it from the Schwab account to our checking account. And that money will hit on call the first of the month. I don't know what day it is. First of the month. And then they spend that down, but they always build in a little bit of cushion. So they never have a zero balance for, oh my gosh, we have a check we can't pay. They pay that 20,000, 30, whatever it is. And that's how they do it. Their preferred method is, let's look at our upcoming expenses. We know what our payroll is going to be. We know what our insurance premiums are going to be. We know what those day-to-day operating expenses are. Let's put that money aside. Occasionally, we'll get a call, hey, 20th of the month, we just got our liability insurance bill for the year. It's $50,000. We didn't account for that because we didn't have the bill yet. Send us another bill. No problem. You know, that kind of thing. Deal. So that would be a situation where they are telling us every month what they want the amount to be. The flip side of that would be working with James and doing some cash flow forecasting. It might be decided that, hey, a good number is 350,000 a month. Let's just send that over. It hits on the first of the month every 350,000, 350, 350. And we'll spend that and occasionally have too much. You'll start to accumulate a little bit that you don't need, and you follow back to us.
So that would include the 3 CDs that we have. We would, as those mature, those would be shifted over.
Yeah, that's how most do it. You know,
Okay,
and
okay.
the one thing we look at is what's the interest rates on the CDs.
Very small.
Yeah, so if you've
Yes.
got, I don't know when they mature, but if you've got a year left on a CD paying 3.4%,
Just get out.
and I can say, hey, let's make that up in a month and a half, let's put it in
Yeah, right,
the money
okay.
market,
All
yeah,
right.
you pay them off early.
That was my next
Pay 'em early. That's something we'll look at, yeah.
All right.
And we're not greedy. If we have to wait for a while to get some money, that's no problem.
Okay.
We're here to help you. For sure. So that's James, anything, I know you've heard this, we've done this a few times in our most recent past year, anything that I forgot that is beneficial to point out, especially from your perspective?
No, I think you covered it. I think what's important to realize is, John is literally an email or phone call away at all times. And what's really nice is if there is that immediate need, it's all liquid. So it's a very easy phone call to make to just say, look, we underestimated, we had a big bill come through. We need an extra, 75,000, and it is very seamless as the money transfers over very quickly. So I can speak from experience. The reporting's very good. We always know where we're at with our funds. And again, the idea would be just to set up, an operating bucket and a capital bucket. Now we've got good investment income, and we've also got pretty good transparency in the sense that we align that to our financial statement. So you see your capital fund, let's say you've got 1.8 million there. Now we see a capital fund with a Schwab account title that says capital. We've got 1.8 million there, and we can invest that maybe longer based on kind of those capital replacement needs. So you can really align it nicely for even somebody that doesn't have a finance background to say, oh, okay, I get it now. There's the capital fund and there's the dollars that are invested on behalf of the fire district. So I think it works really nicely, and I will say that all of those reports we would make available to the board, and John does a nice job coming out as well to kind of explain the positions that we have. As you know, we're in these unprecedented times right now. It won't always be this good, but I think the idea is the timing is right now. I mean, this is a really good time to start this as these rates are, who knows how long we'll have these.
And the
I would say-
the other 2 points that I just wanted to make, guys. One is, so I talked about with John first, and then I had a meeting with James, and one of the things that helped me feel more comfortable with this was the fact that James has been working with John on a number of things. John's already involved with our pension board. The ability to transfer that information and for it to be presented to us. We've all seen the way the reports go from James and his group. I'd expect nothing but that continuing with all of this. And the other thing is we just passed the referendum, right? We finally got to the point where our residents have agreed that we need more money, but we also know that the money we're getting wasn't truly that perfect that perfect option that we tried for in previous referendum attempts. This helps us get closer to that. Any additional income we get, especially when it's not having to come off of the taxpayers, but instead it's better use of taxpayer money, to me that tells me that we're upholding our fiduciary responsibility for those tax dollars. So from that standpoint, to me, this just feels like a no-brainer. And that's really what got me on board with the idea of doing this.
Rob, or I guess a question about Rob's treasurer's report. As we look at the surpluses or the over budgeted revenue that we've seen this year because of the ambulance fees that went up. What happens to those funds at the end of the year? Are they going to be, does that get rolled into this account as well? Or how in
Those
the,
ambulance fees have to be, what's that contract we have with the state where we're getting paid, and then we have to pay, most of that's gonna disappear.
Yeah.
Half of that's gonna disappear because we got
Back to the
we
state.
have to hold it, we're another tax collecting body, an unpaid tax.
but those
collecting
funds
body.
can sit in this account and generate that revenue as well?
Yeah, and I would leave that in terms of where they can set up to James from a
Yeah.
legal obligation perspective, James.
Yeah, as John stated too, the cash flow analysis that we'll do before we start moving the money will be inclusive of some of that. The problem we have with the GEMT program is we don't know when the state's going to invoice us. There's just no right now consistency. So we've only been billed for 2021, but what we can do is
We get to hold that
build.
money.
Oh, yeah, and we get to invest it as well. So there's no issue there. I just think it's when we run our cash flow projections, we're going to have to take into account, hopefully, that on a quarterly basis, the state will get on track with their invoicing. And so that money will be available to us to pay that bill. But that'll be all part of kind of the cash flow analysis that we do to set up the accounts and know, what amount of money we want to have in there.
And quite frankly, the thing that John alluded to, the aspect of if we suddenly have an unexpected bill, like GEMT says, hey, we're ready now, and we weren't ready for it at that moment, it's an email and a transfer, and that bill can be paid. So it's not like it will suddenly throw us into a bad position if we have something sitting there. The only caveat to all of that, John, if I recall correctly from our conversation, is if we're having to pull something out before its maturity date, obviously our rate of return will then be reflective of that shortened time, not of the full length. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, for example, let's just use a simple example. If we bought $100,000 bond and you got the bill and it was $100,000, and that bond today, we bought it on January 1st at $100,000, and it was going to mature on September 30th for $100,000. But in between January 1st and September 30th, if interest rates go up, the value of that bond might go down a little bit if I had to sell it early, or it might go up a little bit, right? So if interest rates go up and I've got a bond with a lower interest rate, somebody's gonna give me a little bit less for that. It's an inverse relationship. So I might get $99,600 instead of 100 when I sell it. Flip side of that would be if interest rates fall a little bit, the value of that bond goes up, you might sell it for $100,300, you make $300. But you're not gonna see stock market type volatility, right? I mean, this is not something where we're putting it in stocks where the market goes down 20% and we're all worrying about our 401k plans, you know, that kind of thing. So it's very safe, very secure. From that perspective, the principal can fluctuate a little bit, but it's not a dramatic fluctuation. We also would know, and working with James, is you always err on the side of caution a little bit, right? So if you have this GMT, I think it is, Bill, that you said might come due.
Right.
We don't go out and buy a 2-year CD with that or a treasury note and then have to sell it in 6 months. That's just dumb. We don't want to do that. Let's use the conservative approach of, all right, let's keep a chunk in money market. That's enough. That's really liquid to pay that bill if we need to and invest the rest, that kind of thing. And then you use that GMT money until you have to get rid of it. And then you use your other one, you know, as you ladder it out. So yeah, it's an active process, but we don't overcomplicate it either, right? This is pretty straightforward. It's just to have how much do you have available in each bucket and what's the interest rate? If your local bank's got a CD that's better, make it go. But if we can get something better for you and earn a few more pennies, keeps this place on a cash flow positive position. That's a good thing.
What action is needed for this?
Well, we have to. when we get
That'll
to
be
new
later.
business-
This
We
was
get to new business
report.
and this
Okay.
was the report.
Yeah, the purpose of John being there and at this point was so we could have the discussion and so that way there was a place of knowledge when we go to vote on if we're gonna actually sign the agreement. And my understanding is the agreement is that then, you know, John and James and anything that we need from Joe can all work together to get the formal contract signed and get the relationship started that way.
Thanks for kicking the ball out in the court there. I appreciate it. Appreciate the conversation we had prior to this too. But another, you're just a hero tonight. One more and you're gonna have a hat trick like your son. You know? Okay, let's follow the agenda. Go to old business. Do we have any? Okay. The consent agenda? Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Taking our esteemed colleagues' place, I'd like to, Chief, why don't we talk about the response summary and where we're at this year as opposed to last year?
We are approximately 60 calls over last year, end of year, as we're sitting here. So, and then December, according to the trends in when we do the trend lines on it, December is one of our busier months, so we can expect it to be, well, obviously, we're already in record territory. So
Big heart attack month, isn't
and sadly, well, sadly, busy is not good for our business, but again, we've exceeded last year already. And that's not good. No.
All right. New business. We have to adopt the tax levy ordinance number 2022-344. Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt ordinance 2022-344.
Second. Perfect.
Trustee
Robin?
Callis,
Yes.
trustee Allen,
Yes.
trustee Simpson.
Yes.
So question for the attorney. Our secretary is supposed to sign this, but he's out sick. Do I just grab him when he's better? Because I need to file this, or do we
How
assign
quickly
it?
Do you have a
is he
stamp?
going to be in?
Pardon me?
How quickly is he going to be in? Is
He lives in
going-
town. He's my brother. I could just find him and have him sign it, but I didn't know if it was necessary that he's the signer or if we.
I think you can appoint a secretary pro tem,
And have him sign it?
and then they can sign it, and just next to where it says secretary, you just write in pro tem.
Otherwise, I'll just call him and say, I'm gonna stick it on the counter. You come in and sign it and get out.
Put a mask on and get out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that.
And it has to file tomorrow.
Has to be filed by Tuesday of next week, but my plan is to file it tomorrow, yes.
Okay, great. Well,
Yeah, have Phil sign it. Let's not
Let's not
do
take-
this one. Let's not leave anything to chance on this one.
Before that fumble.
No.
I concur, with all due respect, very much concur.
The next one on the agenda is to adopt the resolution. I was advised by our, by Megan that we don't have to have both of those on there. That Mavis just kind of sends them both out. That the important one is to adopt the Mavis Intergovernmental Agreement Ordinance number 2022-345. Is that correct, Megan?
That is correct, yes, sir.
So I need a motion, please.
I move to adopt the ordinance to participate in the new Mavis agreement.
The IGA
Yes.
or the ordinance
No,
345?
345.
Okay, so the IGA, we need to.
Well, the IGA isn't, I was told
It's
you don't have
either
to,
or,
it's either or.
Oh, God, I got three things, an ordinance, a resolution, and an IGA.
Well, I can speak to the ordinance and the resolution. Basically, the ordinance and the resolution are the same thing.
Okay,
Some governmental units don't really do ordinances. So they prefer to just do resolutions. So Mavis sends out both a resolution and an ordinance, so you can have your pick.
so if we
And it
do,
is adopting the IGA that you have a copy of.
so when we adopt the IGA, then they just sign the IGA accordingly, because there's a spot for
If there's a spot for a
that.
secretary.
Perfect, all right, thank you.
So we're making a motion to accept the IGA.
The ordinance.
The ordinance 022-345. Correct. Is that motion to?
Support.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Kells,
Yes.
trustee Young.
Yes.
Trustee Stevens.
Yes. And then
Review and take action on contract with Healy, Bender, Patton, and Bean, my glasses are fogging, sorry. Subject to attorney review and final approval.
Joe did say that he reviewed the contract, but he needs feedback from you guys on the scope of work in the contract and whether or not the board finds that sufficient. Basically, things that aren't legal and Joe wouldn't know.
Okay.
That was section 2.
section 3. Scope of
Section
architect.
Scope of architect basic services, is that right?
Scope of, said scope of work. You guys need to check the scope of work. for something.
This is. Where is it? It's not here.
Page 12, is that the description of supplemental services?
I am
Well,
looking.
scope of work is on page.
No, that's what I saw. I actually didn't say work, but it's scope of architectural services, right?
Well, so when I was reading this, I didn't put it side by side against their proposal, but the things that were outlined here seemed like they went pretty parallel to what I remember reading in the proposal that they had submitted. I mean, but I didn't do a side by side comparison. It just seemed like very similar to the language that I saw used in that document. Did Joe express any specific concerns?
No, he just said that because it's not his project, he doesn't know.
He didn't write it, so he doesn't know.
Exactly like what you guys are expecting from the architect. So he could look at it from a legal standpoint, but he just needed your feedback on that. Yeah, but other than that, he said he was fine with it. I'm sorry, I did not get a chance to
No,
review
that's
it, otherwise I
okay.
could.
That's okay.
be more clear.
Are we comfortable with this, or do we want to table this until next month and do a little bit more in-depth dive on this?
I mean, I read through every word of this thing and it seemed to be very parallel
Okay.
to what I remember being discussed and what was in the proposal. But I didn't do a side-by-side comparison.
And I'm, and honestly, I skimmed this, I mean, I just read through the center of it. And it looked similar, you know, maybe the wording was slightly different, but I agree with you. Chief? I'm sorry.
I defer to the chief's opinion.
I share the sentiment expressed this evening insofar as this particular firm had more expansive services that were part of that, and that's what I believe this is alluding to. And you know, I was hopeful that we would have the discussion. I assumed that the highlighted areas were discussion points from that perspective, but from my perspective, I have a level of comfort with it.
Deputy? You're comfortable?
Yeah.
Randy?
Comfortable, just a couple things in here that, you know, I didn't compare either. 3.1.2, where it says the architect shall be entitled to rely on and shall not be responsible for the accuracy, completeness, timeliness of service and information furnished by the owner would be us. So, and the owner's consultants. So there's just saying there that anything that we give them, they're not responsible.
So if we tell them we need 8 lockers and they build 8 lockers, then we come back and say, well, we had 12 staff.
Right, okay,
That's our fault.
Yeah,
all right.
we told them the fire engine is
Right.
so long.
Okay, I got it.
Agreed. That's how I interpreted that.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
yeah.
just didn't want them to.
They're not gonna be responsible for this for us.
Yeah.
Not accepting that.
I'm not gonna be responsible anyway for us.
Yeah.
I never have before, I'm gonna start now.
Do we have a surveys involved?
Yeah.
But I think that the surveys are all gonna be under house, aren't they? We're handling everything through that.
Yeah, for the surveys and the site engineering work, the firm that was, it was our expectation and our desire that the firm that was awarded the work, we would work with firms that they wanted us.
We would recommend
Yeah.
a vendor.
So that they had not unlike the financial part, there was a relationship, so they had a familiarity, they know what they want, and it would make that process go a little
Just
better.
process. So,
May I make a motion?
I was gonna ask if you wanted to.
I move to direct the chief and attorney to complete the signature of the contract. Is that
With Healy Vendor?
with Healy Vendor? Does that satisfy the need that we need to take?
I think that you guys would move to approve the
Right.
contract,
I will move to approve the contract,
subject to attorney. review.
subject to attorney review.
Second. Okay. I don't know.
President Kellis,
Yes.
trustee Allen,
Yes.
trustee Simpson.
Yes. Great, good job, guys. Review and take action on contract with Sawyer Faldo. Faldudo. Okay. I have a motion.
Take a motion to.
Where was that?
Well, that was right under the review that you just made the motion on.
The contract was supposed to be.
So I have copies to sign if you choose to sign it tonight. but
Okay, I was gonna
don't
say,
have
I
copies.
didn't have a copy.
Didn't have copies to pass out or.
Are you having-
Was that in the scan?
I don't know.
It is not.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, but
Are you looking at?
We didn't have,
I didn't,
we didn't have copies.
we don't have
of
copies.
it, so.
Yeah, the document itself, we did not have.
Right,
So I can't, yeah, I can't.
thank you, because if you know something.
Think we need to con-
He's got
Just,
copies.
So I brought a copy with tonight, but we can certainly leave it and have Joe forward copies to the board, and Joe, if you want to review and then do something along those lines.
does it need board action?
It does.
Does, we need to approve it. with the roll call.
Can we authorize the approval pending attorney review? Just like we're doing with the Healy Bender?
But sure,
If you guys wanted to.
or we just authorize it. I mean,
We already have a contract with them for the pension board, so I doubt John's gonna suddenly throw something into, where we have to buy him a place in the Hamptons off of this. So I think we'll be okay.
If you're going to approve it, I would be really comfortable if you said with attorney approval,
Okay.
that way you could hang on to it. Have Joe look at it before you send it back. Obviously, we're not gonna open up an account, you didn't send us any money yet, so I mean, there's nothing we're gonna do.
Well, I make a motion to approve the contract with Sawyer Aldudo, pending the attorney review.
I'll second.
Okay.
And then I have a discussion.
Go.
May I move to amend and say that the final copy of that contract be sent to the board members?
Yes.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, fine.
Yep.
Could I ask one quick question on that as well? Remember, we have with the proposal, when we talked about this initially, was Sawyer Beldudo to manage the assets and Schwab to hold the assets. And that was part of our proposal. I don't know how you have it on the agenda, so I apologize.
So we should say,
How long is it?
amend that and say, Sawyer Aldudo
Someone else is holding it.
And
and
Schwab-
Schwab will be the custodian of the funds, correct?
Correct.
I'll amend your-
We're just subject to.
Second the amendment.
But I would imagine that once you sign the contract, you're gonna be moving within 30 days, right?
We can move at whatever pace you would like.
What's your norm?
Usually it takes a couple of weeks to get the account set up. And then we send you the instructions for getting cash to us and all that. So yeah, you're probably
We'll be within the 30 days.
early to mid-January for sure. Yeah, at this point.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Kells,
Did you want me to read the amended one, or how do you want to work?
Did we just,
I-
did we just unofficially
I think
create
that
our own?
with Schwab being the custodian, so
Okay.
I just amended your motion to include Sawyer Beldudo
Okay.
being the administrator
we
and
just
Schwab
did.
being the
Fine.
custodian of the
Yep.
funds. Okay. President Kells,
Yes.
trustee Allen.
Yes.
Trustee Simpson.
Yes.
We have history, so you did a nice job. Discussion and possible action, a request to hire additional firefighter paramedics.
So this item, and again, I'm just looking for discussion only. So as you know, from reviewing the financials and just being around, our firefighters have been taking a pretty profound beating with respect to the amount of work shifts, extra hours that they work. And that has been a point of emphasis for the administration resolve for a long time. One of the contributing problems is the fact that we have a couple of members off on long-term disability, and the prognosis for their return to duty is unclear, but it's coming closer to a resolution. So I just wanted, again, to bring it up as a talking point to the board members that if they're going to be operating for an incredibly extended amount of time, that I might well work with James and see if we can find a way to hire an additional person just to spell the troops from all those extra overtime shifts. So it's a discussion point for you to come back, ask me questions, beat me up, whatever. But
So you're looking for basically a guy that rotates shifts where needed.
Like a permanent sub.
potentially, yes, that's precisely it. So
We really need more than that, though, don't we?
Well, we do.
I mean, realistically, we.
But you don't want to commit to hire
Right.
many people right now until we find out if Safer will fund it.
Right.
and that's part of the
Because
problem.
Safer would fund this.
Yeah, the safer should have been,
Should be.
we should have gotten an answer in September, but we didn't. So we're in this weird place, and then we've got a couple people off on extended long-term injuries. So
Are they
we're
on long-term or are they extended short-term? Long-term, okay. Well, if they're long-terms, I mean, it's pretty safe to say. Well, that they may or may not come back at the capacity that they were provided. Start at 6 months, one for sure.
So that's going to be, but that'll be.
What was that?
we'll start at one of them that's waiting for their surgery, that's generally a 6-month recovery already.
Well, you don't want, it.
And that's
And speaking of all the people that work here, I don't want anyone coming back who could get hurt again. I want everyone to come back at 100%, not for my safety, for theirs.
Yeah, well, they have to go through a review process, and
Right.
our doctor has to clear them for all that, there's work hardening, so it's a pretty extensive program that they have to go through to get back, so we take that pretty seriously.
Well, it has
We
to.
work really well with, Edward Ockel.
We do, and they're a very good partner.
With this, is this discussion or your thought that this would be one new staff position? And, or is this one person, not a position,
One person,
one person?
because we have 2 vacancies on shift now because of 2 people that are off. And depending upon, as we reach a conclusion with respect to having a better idea how long you're gonna be out for. Again, because that goes back to the 3 positions or the 3 personnel for the 1 staffed position I asked for in the safer
Right.
grant. And we don't want to get into that because once you hire those people, you
You gotta-
forfeit your safer grant.
Right.
So that's this position wouldn't be one of those. And again, it's a talking point for this to have this conversation with the board that if things start looking really, really bleak for the troops, I might be coming back
So
to
to
you.
clarify, right now, we have 2 open positions.
We have
Hired-
2
We have a vacancy currently that the new person is in the early stages getting hired for.
Right.
And we have 2 other members that are off on long-term injury.
So we're gonna, the commissioners have approved and sent the letter, and I believe the person's accepted, correct? So we have a permanent person.
Right.
A hire.
Right.
For the
So
one
now what we're
vacancy.
looking for is another person to fill in.
Yeah.
At this period of time to give these poor guys a chance to see their family, to take them to
I
rest.
understand that, it's the position and the
It's a person.
Safer Act that we don't want to screw up, so.
Right. The safer grant was to add from our staffing of 5 people per shift. The safer grant was to add a 6th position on shift, a 6th
So
staff position
Right.
comprised
All
of
3
3
shifts.
people.
Right.
So the problem is right now we have 3 vacancies. 1 we're in the process of trying to get filled, and we got the other 2 that are kind of in flux. And ultimately, our position with our community in the referendum ask was ultimately to get to 7 on shift.
Right.
So if and when these people come back, it could be a rotational thing. So we're still doing things. I haven't talked to James about the financial end of it. I just put it on the agenda because again, in our interest of transparency, to have a discussion as a group.
I just want to make sure that if we hire this person, you're not screwing up. You know, state,
Right, no.
sit back and say, well, you hired this guy and that's
Very much.
filling in your 7 slots.
No, we're not even at 6 yet. Right. We're still running short.
I'll get with James and.
Yeah.
Does this require an amendment to the budget?
There would be some work that would have to be done. That's why I haven't gotten there. This was truly, I had asked for it to be on the agenda so we could have an open conversation about.
Exploratory.
Yeah, precisely. Thank you.
Are we,
Would you like that action to be taken by January? Is that what you're thinking?
I think we'll have more answers, probably, we'll have more answers in January, certainly from the financial perspective, also in terms of the prognosis of the 2 members. I think we'll be, but I didn't want to spring it on into January.
If we find out the 10th of January that we were awarded a safer grant, will or do you still want to get an additional person hired on top of that?
yeah, because that
Because we want to add to the
we
company
want to add
size,
to the company size, so this will
alleviate
alleviate
the,
the crews that are
Well,
working.
the 3 additional people that we hired under the safe grant would give these people, these firefighters a tremendous amount of relief just in their existence. So that might change the dynamics. I don't want to overextend us
financial.
Yeah,
And
so it's very dynamic, but again, that was the point of this, was just to bring it up so we could have the conversation. And you can kind of know where we're,
are you asking us if it's okay to continue to explore the option of that? Is that what you're asking for?
I
right
guess,
now?
I guess it is, yes, sir.
It's just a discussion.
Yeah.
So then we'll have more information in January.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that.
Could we just, can we just make the hire? Can we just give you the opening? We make the decision now, or are we not able to make that
We
decision
haven't
tonight?
really discussed everything with James, have you?
I have not.
Okay.
I want to see.
Gotta
what's
have a
going
way to pay for it.
up before we.
Yeah, we gotta make sure that we,
Yeah.
we have to, we don't all want to chip in. So,
I'm good with the exploring the
Right.
finances and seeing if we're good to go.
Right.
And
finding out what our other two members are doing, where they're at
Right.
in their world. And they're always gonna be firemen here, part of the team here in Winfield. So we have to find positions for them too, whatever the capacity they can work. We're not letting anyone go. So, all right, we have a discuss and take
over there's got big shoulders, he can work.
discuss and take action on the new ambulance purchase.
As discussed, and Attorney Miller gave his approval, an identical ambulance, same manufacturer. There was some back and forth. This was supposed to happen a few months ago. There was some back and forth with respect to some of the pricing issues. Those have been resolved to our satisfaction, and same contract as the last one, with updating the pricing structure.
Right. Do I have a motion? This is in the budget.
It was budgeted, yes,
Was
sir.
budgeted.
I move to execute the purchase of this ambulance.
Fantastic. Do I have a second? Okay. Roll call.
Right? You're not.
It's really, I mean, it's 1-2 or 2-1, one or the other, okay?
President Kell.
Yeah.
Trustee Allen.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes. Okay, great.
Nothing in the surplus list.
There's nothing there? Did we sell everything?
Pretty much.
It's not been nailed down.
Great job.
Working on it.
Great
We're
job.
going.
Good job.
$700 for an old boat motor. That surprised me.
Made a boat motor from hell.
You know what boat
I
motors
get no idea.
My brother's 60 horse Mercury went out. And he had $9,500.
Wow.
Date.
that they had probably
Date.
had
With the date.
20 hours.
What size motor was it?
Yeah, just surprised me how much that one. Surprised me how much we got for the old engine.
What did we get for the old engine?
2,300.
I know, yeah, I know you told me. and I
Cost them
forgot.
that much in record fees.
Oh, you would think.
Oh, we're, yeah. Thank goodness, I just don't want that.
Yeah, that was our goal. That was legitimate. Our goal was, we didn't want it to cost us money getting rid of it.
It was a big ordeal.
Well, yeah, 'cause the
Well, yeah.
departure angle from the
We're gonna
station
pick it up.
didn't help
That's
matters.
your retirement plan right there. That funded your retirement. Congratulations.
Just about pay for the
You
dinner.
started working on it?
Anyway, yeah, we're
So-
moving right along.
Moving on.
Great. Do we have any surplus? Do we want to start looking for anything else to throw in there?
Yes.
Oh, we'll have stuff.
Very good, great.
We're working.
Good, fantastic.
This
I need a
money,
motion to pay the bills.
Motion to pay the bills?
I move to pay the
You
bills.
too? Okay, roll call.
President Kell.
Yes,
Trustee Allen.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
to my knowledge, we have nothing in executive session to discuss.
Real quick, is there an answer to the question I posted to you there?
We don't care.
What question?
What, who is it?
It's regarding the levy, so I want to make sure we do it right.
Levy was a roll.
It was a roll call.
It was a
It
roll.
was? Okay, for some reason I thought it wasn't, so that's why I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, well, you have COVID, so.
I know.
Back
So
to-
far.
back to your cup that we can't see what's in it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, because in my brain, it wasn't, so. Thank you.
Any-
Thank you
You're
all.
welcome, sir. Any other business that we have to discuss?
I just have a question for the group.
Okay,
How do you all feel about moving the start times to 7 instead of 7:30?
I will tell you quite honestly, this is the one meeting that I have that starts at 7:30, and I couldn't be happier. That starts at 7:30. It gives me just a little bit of time to get home and get changed work. All the other meetings that I attend are we do at 6:30 or 7, and I get home at 5:45 on a good day. So I'm real comfortable with it, but obviously if everyone wants to change it, I'd go along with it.
I'm good with this.
That's fine. I just thought I'd ask for.
Yeah.
Some of our meeting, when they go long and
Right,
it's
I
still a long
understand.
night, so.
I understand.
Trustee Allen, I can make it longer.
I do too.
Mastered extending the time of our meeting.
You know, I can do that too.
Oh, no,
You may have noticed.
I've seen you do
Or just the ones.
Yeah.
I've seen you do it. Oh, I just have one more question.
Okay. No. Hey, you avoided me. I have no more questions.
Rob, you got any questions while you're at it or what?
I am all good to go, guys. Thank you so much.
Any public comment from the public out there? Anyone have anything they want to say before we hit the road, Jack?
Besides Rob.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that as a no. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I move to adjourn.
Second. So moved. We are adjourned.
James and John, thank you both.
No better, Rob.
Thanks, everybody. Good
I
night.
plan on it.
Thank you.